so welcome to my final review of Final Fantasy XVI for the PS5. I finished it last night. I was able to sleep on it and come in here today and give my final impressions of the game with no spoilers at all. Absolutely, I've shown a bit of gameplay, but nothing too later in the game. No bosses, no storyline things, or anything like that, for sure. I will ask you guys, have you played the demo? Because I know a lot of people start to play the demo and they're like, wait a second, this is pretty amazing, and word of mouth spread, and people have gotten really excited about Final Fantasy XVI. It's been trending quite a bit, and so yes, I finished the game. What do I think? Here we go. I think it is an amazing game. I think it's unbelievable in so many ways, and I'm gonna really gush about all the things that I love about the game. Is it a perfect game? No. Is there some things that I kind of like a little bit lukewarm on? A little bit, but overall, this is a really fantastic game from beginning to end, and the ending just blew me away, and of course, I will not be talking about it. But let's start off with a non-spoilers idea of the story. And the story's with Clive. I know everybody's been talking about the name Clive online and having a laugh about it and memeing about it, but he's your main protagonist of the story. And the only thing that I will say about the story is this. It's his struggle, it's his journey, finding out about himself and his powers and who he is in this world. And it's a world in conflict. And yes, that's all I can say. If I say anything more, it would be in the spoiler territory. But I do want to say that this game takes you all over the world to so many varying locations. And the thing that got me the most was the amount of money thrown at this game. From beginning to end, I was like, I cannot believe how much they invested into this game. The amount of work they put into this game. Never mind in the combat, but in the cinematics, which are some of the best cinematics I've seen in a video game. I can say that, and you haven't seen it in the demo, but wait till you see some things in the game. It'll blow you away. You'll see cinematics, you're like, that's unbelievable. And Final Fantasy gets its name back by having some of the best cinematics in the industry. It has them. The movies that play in this, you're like, I can't believe this. It's so amazing. But it's also the care in the environments. They really built a lot of environments, so many varying places and locations. As I said, the amount of work in the textures, in the locations, blew me away. I was like, wow, they put a lot of time into this, and it shows. It really shows as you're running around in these locations. And there's a lot of locations. There is. My one critique I want to say is that this is not an open world game. And anybody who's going in thinking it is, it's not. I was hoping that it would open up more, and it does. But what we have is a map, and I can't show the map because it'll show spoilers, a map, and you have pins on the map, kind of like Final Fantasy X in a way. And you can choose where to go at certain times. It's a very linear game. That's what I do want to say. So you're kind of led by the hand of where to go next. But a lot of people in the comment section of my last video said, hey, we're all about that. We played some massive open world games lately, like Zelda, and we kind of want to break from open worlds. We kind of want to go back to something kind of segregated and split up like that. And it works for me. It's okay. I like it. I mean, we've all been kind of ruined by open world games. We expect every game to be that way, but Final Fantasy XVI is not an open world game. But one thing I do want to say, when you get into varied locations, it does open up at certain times. Sometimes you're just going down a hallway and you're kind of led that direction. Sometimes they give you a large field to go and explore, and sometimes these fields are gigantic, especially for going and finding like rare monsters and things like that you want to hunt and take down. So understand that some directions are kind of sectioned off, but sometimes it's really open for you. And with that openness comes some kinds of issues at certain times, and I know there's a patch for this. I did not have it as I was playing the game, but I was playing the game in 60 FPS mode, and I really enjoyed playing in that. Yes, I don't have the graphic fidelity of the full graphics turned on, but you know what? I like that. But there's sometimes, only sometimes, it's not all the time, when you're going through a town or you're jumping down or something where it stutters a little bit, but then all of a sudden you're back on track. And let me say, in Tears of the Kingdom, a big game that just came out recently, that had a few issues like that as well. And you know what? I was able to let it go. I'm able to let it go in this game. It's nothing that hinders the gameplay at all. It's just once in a while, there's a bit of stutter when there's a lot going on the screen. And sometimes there's a lot going on the screen. But for the most part, I thought the performance was really good. Now, if somebody was to ask me, what kind of game is this? What does it remind you of? I would say that this is its own unique thing. It's kind of like Devil May Cry meets The Witcher meets Game of Thrones. That kind of really sums up this game in a way, and that's not knocking it in any regard, because we have to get into the gameplay and talk about combat for a second. Yes, they brought in the guy from Devil May Cry. He did the combat, and he said it's his swan song. He was very, very happy with it. How is the combat? Is it fun as it gets going? You know what? It's interesting because we're going from turn-based to full-on action combat these days. And I'm telling you, I didn't miss the turn-based. And I'm the biggest turn-based guy that there is. Honestly, I played the first Final Fantasy when it was released and I loved it. But I'm telling you, it's fun, it's kinetic, and it's fast. And as you're able to level up your character, as you get new abilities from different titans and you can add them to your roster, and there's a lot of possibilities here. There's a lot of possibilities what you can do. I found the kind of match that was working for me, and I was totally engaged in combat. And I was on the edge of my seat with some boss battles going, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? And I just sometimes could hang on, sometimes not. But it's really fun and it's really exciting. And I can't believe I'm saying this in a Final Fantasy game. I love the action combat. It's great. Now, I've got to say this, without showing it, you get to some bosses in this game, quite a few. They are so epic that you feel that you're at the end of the game and this is the end boss. That's how epic they've gone all in with some of these boss characters. I mean, some of the battles, I was like, am I at the end of the game? And I was like, no, I'm only 2 hours in. They put so much work into the bosses and it really shows. And you get to some sub bosses, but then you get to these end bosses and you're like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And it feels that epic that it feels like it's the end of the game, but it's not. You got a lot more to go. Now, I do have a small critique. It's not too bad. It's nothing terrible at all, but it was something that I started to notice, and that was the game design. I could see the game design at times, and I think that's just me because I played so many video games and I played so many RPGs that sometimes some of the gameplay felt very formulaic. Like I was doing the same thing over and over and over again, which is every RPG, right? So this is not something that I'm saying is a bad thing. It was just something that I would see that I would do fetch quests and then I'd be sent to the place I had to go. I'd run down somewhere, fight a bunch of enemies, defeat them, get my potions back, fight a sub-boss, fight him, fight a major boss, and then go into a major climactic battle. And then that would be over. I'd return to town and I'd buy my potions. And as soon as I got to town, the latest equipment that I would need to upgrade would be there exactly at that moment. And I rinsed and repeated that probably about 10 to 15 times, I swear, in the game. But I tell you, I wasn't upset about it, but I just noticed it as I was playing it. I was like, okay, and I would just rinse and repeat and do those same things over and over and over again. But you know what? That's an RPG. That's how RPGs go. But I thought it was really funny that I could see how the game was going and how it was laid out. And that's only because of my experience playing RPGs. It did not take away from the game. In fact, I loved it and I really, really enjoyed it. One thing that I did find very, very funny in the game was the amount of swearing, the amount of F-bombs that are dropped all over the place. Sometimes I was like, am I playing a Final Fantasy game? And it was very, very entertaining to me, the amount of swearing in this game. And I was laughing at times. I'm like, this is totally a lot of fun. Just something to keep in mind for sure. Sometimes it takes you out of the game. You're like, whoa, wait a second. What game am I playing? Am I playing Final Fantasy? I'm like, no, I'm playing a very serious Final Fantasy game. And the character's getting really serious about what's going on. The F-bombs had to be dropped. Now, I have to mention the music. How is the music? You know what? It's perfect for every single scene in the game. Every piece of music fits really, really well. Love the combat music. I love some of the later boss music as well. Very epic stuff. You'll hear that quite a lot playing as well. Is this music as iconic as past Final Fantasy games? I wouldn't say so. I mean, when you sit and think about Final Fantasy X, that music is iconic. You know, even 12 is very iconic music as well. But the music here is excellent. It fits every single scene. You'll be very happy with it. I thought it was very, very fitting. So there's a lot of hype around this game. Does it live up to it? Can any game live up to the hype of Final Fantasy XVI, since everybody's been playing the demo going, this is the greatest game ever made? Is it the greatest game ever made? I don't think so. Is it a great solid RPG? Absolutely. Will you have a great time with it? I think so. Is it RPG of the year? I think so. Yeah, I mean, all the way through from the beginning to the end, I was enthralled. The storyline is very, very strong. A lot of characters talking quite a bit though in the game, know that. But you know what? When you get to the end of the game, it really is powerful stuff. And that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. I must admit, it kind of choked me up at the end. It was so powerful. Some of the storyline and some of the character journeys are just really, really interesting. And when I look back at the game now and I see some of the combat and some of the things that I did within the game, I'm just really, really blown away by it. I think Square, really put a lot of work into this game, and it really, really shows. Monster designs, character designs, world creation, world building. I think they knocked it out of the park, and I think everybody's really going to get a really solid RPG out of this one. And I think some boss encounters are going to blow you away like they did me. And they put so much work into this. I can't stress that enough. So I can't believe I finished another mainline Final Fantasy game after so much time. And you know what makes me sad? I'm like, oh my god, we have to wait another 6 or 7 years till the next one. And I really did have a good time with this one, that's for sure. So anyways, guys, until next time.